Hi, welcome to the second part of our shark trace making video. In this part we're going to look at putting together a rubbing leader. So we make two kinds of rubbing leader here. Obviously there's variations in breaking strains, but the two main types are with and without a sliding weight. So if we're going to be fishing in an area where there's very strong tides and you need to keep your bait down in the water, we recommend that you use a trace with one of these inline weights on it. That's going to keep your baits down at the level that you set. So this is going to go onto a length of wire. We discussed wire length in the last one of these videos, and we're looking at this to be between 12 and 15 feet long. So with a 5-foot bite trace, we're looking for at a total length of wire that's something like 20 feet. You need this length because you might find that when you're playing a big fish, it wraps itself up in the trace. You know, they blue sharks especially, they often roll. The same with poor beagles, as they often when you're fighting them, they go down through the water column. As they go down, they spiral, and as they spiral, they can get themselves wrapped up in the trace. So let's just look at the sequence. I'm going to just start making this now. So I'm going to push the wire through the sliding weight. That's going to sit against this little fella here, which is a buffer bead. So the idea of this is it gives something for the weight to crash into as it bounces up and down, because if that went straight onto the crimp that's holding the snap swivel on the end of the trace, you could damage that connection, but this buffer bead protects it. So I'm just going to thread that onto the trace, and for now just slide it up out of the way. The next thing I want is a couple of bits of shrink tubing. This is a thicker bit of shrink tubing. I'm going to use this just to lock the buffer bead in place. So that's going to slide up and over the buffer bead. The second bit of shrink tubing I'm using here is thinner, and this is going to sit over the crimp and the tag end of the wire, just to keep that out of the way. So just slide that on there, out of the way. Next I need my crimp. So this is 400-pound wire, so I have a 1.6mm crimp. So push that through there. This is going to go through the eye of the swivel on the snap link. This is AFW snap link. These are a really good bit of kit. Won't let you down. So do the offshore loop in just the same way as we did on the bite trace. Just going to fold that loose end of wire through, tighten that up a little bit, get the loop the size that I want it. Now put the crimp on. Just crimp that. Be careful to position the crimp correctly in the jaws of the pliers. Just do that on a little bit. So that's one crimp there. Second one there. Just slide the shrink tubing down over there. Just going to hold that. Shrink the tubing. Right, so I just slide that bit of shrink tube out of the way. Move the buffer bead down so that goes inside and sits on top of the end of the shrink tubing. Now just push this little bit up. So I'm just going to heat this again. When I heat this, that's effectively locked the buffer bead in place. So you can see as the lead slides down, it's just going to sit on top of that buffer bead, and the waste of the lead can't damage your connection at all. So on the other end of this, I want my swivel. So this is a bit more straightforward. I need another 1-inch piece of this tubing. Slide that up the wire there. Put my crimp on. Put that through the eye of the swivel. Offshore loop again. The wire through the barrel of the crimp. Right, just going to crimp that into position. See, that's the tag end there. It's very important that the shrink tube actually sits on top of that, because if you're holding the leader and there's a fish on it shoots off, that could do a lot of damage to your hand. But with the shrink tube over the top of it, that's you've mitigated that potential problem. So I'm just going to heat this up. Plenty. A little bit hot, and that's it. That's your complete rubbing leader. Obviously, now we want to use this snap link to connect to the loop that we've left on the bite trace. We don't put a swivel on that because obviously, when we're unhooking the fish, we may want to. Sometimes it helps if you push the hook. If it's through the fish's mouth, it helps. If you pull that out backwards, so we can unclip it there, that would just pull through the hole in the fish's mouth. The fish is now unhooked. So I'll just connect this up onto here again. So there we have our complete shark trace setup.